What's up, everybody? I've been thinking a lot about the next Mass Effect game lately. I can't wait to see what type of story we're gonna get. But with all this talk about the story, we gotta keep in mind that Mass Effect has another element that gets overlooked. It's multiplayer mode. Now, since Mass Effect is an RPG above all else, the multiplayer mode is always gonna take a backseat to the story. It's just how it is. But I've been thinking, how much could a Mass Effect multiplayer contribute to the success of the next game? I'm gonna go on and say that this game will have a multiplayer mode, considering how the last two have had multiplayer modes, and how they contributed to the main story in some way, shape, or form. But all of this leads to the question, what is Mass Effect 5's multiplayer going to be like? And what could be added to make it great? So I've been thinking of ideas that BioWare could add that would make for an interesting multiplayer mode. So in this video, I'm going to go over what the past game's multiplayer modes were like, how they contributed to the main story, and the ideas that I've come up with for the next game. The first Mass Effect multiplayer was in Mass Effect 3, and the unique thing about it was that playing 3's multiplayer contributed to the main story as far as galactic readiness, at least at first. When the game first came out, you had to play some of the multiplayer to get the plays necessary for the best ending. As you played the multiplayer, your galactic readiness meter would improve, adding to your EMS score. However, for every day you don't play the multiplayer, the rating goes down 1%, incentivizing you to play the multiplayer every now and then. This changed with the arrival of the Extended Cut DLC, which cut the EMS point requirement down from 4,000 to 3,100, making getting all of the available endings easier. Combine that with the added assets gained from the other DLCs, and you didn't even need to play the multiplayer mode outside of just doing it for fun. And I was surprised with how easily I was finding matches. That goes to show just how much people love this mode. Although this is the Steam version, I tried to play this on the EA/Origin version and couldn't get into a match to save my life. I know the Origin servers shut down recently, but I heard that since the multiplayer is peer-to-peer, that shouldn't affect much, but no dice. I did see from people on Reddit that apparently you have to have all the DLCs installed for it to work, so maybe that's where I messed up, but I would recommend the Steam version. It's going for pretty cheap on there, so if you have a PC, I would just grab that one. All of the DLCs already come with it, so that's one less step that you have to do. Mass Effect 3's multiplayer is fairly simple. When you first enter the mode, the game will have you pick a character and customize them. You'll start out with only the human characters, but as you play through some matches, you'll earn credits to purchase loot boxes to unlock more characters. You have the option of choosing a quick match or creating your own. Quick match to join random games, and creating a match where you can play with friends or set up a match to your liking. You have different difficulties. You get more for completing higher difficulties. You get different levels, and you get to choose the faction you would like to take on. The match consists of 10 waves, technically 11, where you'll be fighting the enemy faction for that match. The cool thing about it is that not all the waves are the same. Some waves consist of taking on the enemy straight up, but others can be objective based, such as taking out specific enemies, gathering intel, or disabling devices. This helps add variety to the waves. The 11th wave is the extraction wave, where you'll have to fend off enemies and get to the extraction point. You'll get the most points if everyone is at the point before the time runs out. Those points go towards your XP, which will allow you to improve your character's stats. This game has a way of making you feel like you're a weak little puppy at first, because I was getting cooked my first match, I'm not gonna lie, and it was on bronze. But the good thing is you can rank up quickly in the beginning, so it's not the worst thing in the world. If you have some higher ranking players alongside you, just stick with them and you'll be alright. I mentioned this a bit earlier, but after every match, you'll earn credits that will allow you to unlock loot boxes. This is how you can upgrade your character's weapons, equipment bonuses that can be used during matches, weapon mods, and of course characters. I believe that when you unlock a character, even if they are in a different class, they'll be the same rate that you are currently. Because the Infiltrator class here says level 9. I've never played as one a day in my life, but I ended up unlocking the Alliance Infiltrator unit, or an EDI, and she kicks ass. I love this snap freeze ability, but I mistimed it a lot. There are also challenges where completing them rewards you with challenge points that contribute to your overall N7 rating. It's sort of like how ranks worked in Call of Duty or Halo, just something to show your experience with the game. What really makes this mode fun, in my opinion, is just being able to use the different characters and check out the abilities that they have. The consistent challenge. Platinum difficulty is not to be messed with. I was in hell, but it was very rewarding. The only thing I don't like is that there's no map like it at all, which can lead you into some precarious situations, but outside of that, it's a good time. I haven't played this mode in like 10 years, so it was a fun trip down memory lane. But let's switch gears and talk about Mass Effect Andromeda. For the most part, Andromeda's multiplayer mode is laid out about the same as 3's, but there are some differences. The biggest difference is how the modes are tied to the main story. Where Mass Effect 3 was originally more involved with it being tied to galactic readiness, Andromeda's is tied to its Apex Strike Team units. These units, led by Tehran Kandros, can be sent out to complete missions where, if they are successful, provides you with credits, resources, and mission funds which you can use to create a new team or improve your current one. These missions are separated by difficulty, so it's important to gauge whether you think your team can complete the mission or not. After your team completes a mission, they will also earn XP, which will allow them to increase in rank, which will allow them to complete more difficult missions, which will lead to better rewards. However, if you don't trust your team to get the job done on their own, you can turn the mission into a multiplayer mission. You don't really have to do these missions, but they do help when it comes to the main story in terms of resources and the like. A minor thing that I do like is if you come into multiplayer from the Apex menu, you have the option to go back into single player from the multiplayer menu. That was a nice addition. Andromeda's version also comes with a tutorial mission to give you a better understanding of how the mode works. The characters work a bit differently as well. There are now tiers for each character alongside their ranks. You get higher tier characters through collecting their cards through loot boxes. Each character has a veteran skill that can be unlocked once you unlock their tier 11 card. You can also complete challenges to gain more points, credits, and completing certain ones will reward you with nameplates. Completing the tutorial challenges will give you an advanced loot box, so there is merit to completing those. Match-wise, it's not too different from 3, except there are now 7 waves instead of 10, and some of the objectives are different, but the overall structure of the matches are the same. What separates Andromeda from 3, however, is movement and the abilities. Andromeda introduced new abilities, and just like 3, its multiplayer mode also has some abilities that you can only use within it. Movement-wise, you also have the jump jets and the biotic dash, not to mention that the game takes place in an open environment, so now you can fight on top of roofs and traverse the levels more freely, allowing you to have more options as far as escape and flanking routes. However, sometimes that doesn't matter because the Remnant are on one in this mode, especially on Platinum. I've never seen so many destroyers in my life, and I was at level 1. It was my first game. Never again. But that's the gist of Mass Effect Andromeda. The mode is a lot of fun, and I should play this one a lot more than I do. Now, how could we add to the next game's multiplayer mode to make the mode have more variety? I can think of 2 modes that would be great. A full-on survival mode would be something new to the series, and I think would be a good fit. We've already had a taste of what that could be like with Captain Ahern's mission in Mass Effect 1, but it's the solo warfare mod that made me see the potential of a full-on survival mode. I would check out my last video for a full review, but this mod incorporated elements of Mass Effect 3's multiplayer and COD Modern Warfare 3's survival mode, and combining those elements together created a kick-ass game mode. Not only did this mod introduce more enemy variations, but it also added kill streaks to get you out of jams on the later waves. You started out at a hub where you could talk to the merchants to acquire more powerful weapons, you could talk to these 2 to reset your powers, and you could talk to Anderson and this character when it came to having an AI squad mate. You didn't start out with all of this at first, you had to earn it, but I can say, the grind was worth it. Now I'm pretty sure that having a hub like this may not be the most feasible thing, having a menu is the better idea. But the point is whether it's going solo or having up to 4 people, this could give players another mode that they could sink hours into. Now for my next idea, I think it would be a good time to introduce a team deathmatch mode to the series. Since I'm going with the idea of having more self-contained modes, if BioWare decides to be a bit more experimental with the next game, I think that would be the perfect opportunity to test this out. I think a big team battle style deathmatch would be a little too out there, but anything from a 3v3 to a 4v4 would be nice. Remember that opening scene from the Armor Bay fight during the Citadel DLC? Imagine being able to have an Omni-Tool struggle or a biotic struggle with another player. That would be sick. My angle is that the mode is a classic when it comes to shooters, in like survival mode, and you can do it in rounds. Like one round could be just take the other team out, but then you can have another round where it's objective based, like the King of the Hill, or one team has to try to disable the devices and the other team has to stop them. You could do things like that. And it's different because this time, it's other players trying to stop you and not just the AI. My angle is that the mode is a classic when it comes to shooters, and like survival mode, it will be another wrinkle to add to the Mass Effect experience. And this one may be the easier one to incorporate. So what I think would be the move when it comes to incorporating these 3 modes is when you go into multiplayer, you can have the option of playing Classic mode, the usual Mass Effect experience, Survival mode, full on fight until you can't fight no more, and Team Deathmatch, who is the greater group of badasses. Like I was saying, I do think that Team Deathmatch would be the easiest one to add, but either one of these modes could add a lot to the Mass Effect multiplayer experience. On the other hand, if they go with the if it's not broke, don't fix it route, then that would be okay, because it does allow them to combine the single player and multiplayer the way they do it now. For the next game though, make it easier to exit out of lobbies. I shouldn't have to go into a match and then leave. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong, but I run into that a lot with Andromeda and it was annoying. But what I really find amazing is that you can still find people playing these modes 8 and 13 years later, which to me highlights how much fun each game's multiplayer mode is on its own. But those are my ideas. This video can serve as sort of a conversation point about that aspect of the next game. If you guys have your own ideas about Mass Effect 5's multiplayer, let me know in the comment section. I would like to see what y'all could come up with. But I want to thank you guys for watching. My allergies were messing with me when I was recording this, so if I sound stuffy at times, that's why. But feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.
DJ Sonic 3.